Okay, let's get started, and we will have two-part presentation on plugin development from Zabbix-agent, and then Darya Vilkova from Postgres Pro will tell you more about PostgreSQL monitoring with Zabbix. So hello everyone. Let me introduce myself. However, I have already know some of you. My name is Vadim, and I am working at Zabbix in integration team, and we provide our monitoring system for integrating with different services. Also, we create ready-to-use solutions for popular hardware and software monitoring. Today, we'll tell you about our plugins for Zabbix-agent 2, and will be like a short manual how to start development for our platform. But first, tell me who is using Zabbix or who knows Zabbix. Well, that's great. So I'm not going to tell you more about this. And who knows Go? Not bad. Well, anyway, there is nothing very difficult today. Well, briefly, Zabbix is a distributed monitoring enterprise level with open source. We don't have any closed versions. We develop our product 24/7 and we give it absolutely for free. Zabbix is all-in-one solution. We collect data by different ways. We visualize, we do troubleshooting, and you don't have to fine-tune your monitoring system. Architecturally, Zabbix has different components, and the main one is Zabbix-server, which is the core of the system. We collect data, we store them in a database, and then we use them for visualization. And also we do information analysis. We do it to identify problems and to troubleshoot. Another component is Zabbix proxy. It is used to distribute load. In order to collect data, we can use different ways, like with checks, like ping queries, HTTP or SSHA, SNMP, and other protocols, and also by different scripts. But today, we're gonna tell about Zabbix-agent. It's a service that is run on an visible object that gives you information through the server. If an agent doesn't know how to monitor what you need, it can be scalable. It's a very flexible platform. In order to do so, we can use different things. First is scripts or user parameters. They are very easy to develop, but not very efficient in terms of performance and in terms of system resources usage, and sometimes they have like an observer effect when you create extra load by just getting statistics. Also, they're not very maintainable because they're decentralized. Also, we have system run function. It is almost the same scripts, but here we send any commands to the agent and we allow executing this. It helps us with the centralization, but there are some problems with the security. And the second thing is plugins. Maybe they're a little bit more complicated in terms of development, but they're faster and more efficient. That's why we're going to talk about plugins. So what is the new agent? In Zabbix there was only one agent written on C. It was fast and stable, very efficient, but it has some drawbacks, of course. But I would rather tell you about key features of the new agent compared to the previous one. This is a brand new platform written on Go, which is a special peculiarity, and also it allows you to develop your plugins on Go. I think it's an easier task than using C, and I would just call it Go agent for easier. It has back compatibility on protocol configuration and metrics levels, and also it has a new architecture that allows you to use persistent connections, to use stateful connections, to get traps, to configure a plugin on the level of a general config file. You can log. Everything was unavailable before, but not now. Go agent is available right now. It's an experimental feature, and in the next release, in March, it will become a production feature. Here I have to mention why we are doing this. One of our goals is to give our users an out-of-the-box solution, completely ready to use out of the box. Now, sometimes we have to extend Zabbix functionality because it doesn't have monitoring tools for popular systems, and if you would like to monitor something more than just system metrics or hardware metrics, OS metrics, you have to find a ready solution in the internet and then adapt it to your needs. It is just like inventing a wheel. As a result, we have dozens of external solutions to monitor what you need. So a brand new agent is just a small part of the big project designed to solve this problem. We want to spend our time and give you a high quality solution to monitor your things. Some solutions are being developed by us. Some solutions will be developed in collaboration with community and vendors, because sometimes they know better what to monitor and how to do it better. The same applies to Postgres Pro. They were one of the first to develop their monitoring solution, and this solution will become a part of Zabbix in the next release. I will give you more about this later on. Okay, now let's talk about plugins and the technical part of the presentation. So you could have an understanding how plugin looks like, just take a look at this example. To make Zabbix functional, you need to insert your code. And I think that it doesn't look very more complicated than Bash script. And after your first plugin, I think you will understand that it's not that difficult. So in terms of agent, plugin is a simple Go package with one or two interfaces implemented that define the logics of its behavior. Currently there are 5 interfaces, and first 3 define the model of data manipulation. And there are no strict scenarios of how to use it. To make it easier, Exporter implements pull model. By a certain server interval, it gives a task to a plugin. It goes, collects data, and once everything is ready, it can give it to you. Watcher interface is implementing push model, and the collection model is defined by plugin. Usually it's just waiting for data and then sends them to server. Collector is used when you have to collect data on a regular basis, and it's up to plugin to define the interval of collection. Okay, let's talk about this in details. Exporter is the most popular and frequently used interface for most of plugins. If you know Zabbix, I can compare it to user parameters. This interface collects data upon request and returns one or several values or just an error. It is using key parameter, and context. It is the only interface that allows concurrent access to data. Other interfaces are implementing exclusive access, and none of other methods can run concurrently until plugin stops working. You have to be careful and to provide right access to distributed data. In order to do so, we have the full array of Go features. And please do not forget that Go has rate detector. There is a limit on concurrent queries, 100 queries maximum. This can be reduced if needed by using max capacity method, or you can change the same parameter in a config file. Like you can write plugin name capacity equals 1, and this is how you can make an exporter with exclusive data access. Sometimes it can be useful. Collector interface is used when you have to collect data periodically. collector cannot return data. That's why you have to use it with exporter. A typical case is periodical metric collection until Zabbix-server asks for it. Here you have to define collect and period. Collect is used for CPU and I/O metrics collection. Next interface is watcher. It enables fully custom monitoring without using embedded scheduler. It can be applied for plugins that are using trapping mechanism and that need complete control over data collection. You can monitor log files, or you can listen to ports. If we have decided to use this interface, you can use Watch Manager embedded package that will make your life easier to monitor subscriptions and events sources. We don't have much time to talk about this in detail, but I will give you a link so you could do it on your own. We have two more interfaces, which are runner and configurator. Runner gives you interface for managing background processes. You can check whether when it started, when it stopped. You can use it to stop background processes and to release unused resources. If we want to configure our plugin, we can do it by using configurator interface. We can do everything when it comes to config file read or config file parsing. The agent will do it instead of us. This interface has just two methods. Configure method passes global and private plugin, and validate method that validates a private plugin. If the validation fails, it will not start and we will get information about problems. In the easiest way, we can define the accessible range and default values in conf tags. There is no limitations on how many interfaces you can use. We can mix them as much as we want. For example, system plugin on CPU can use collector, exporter, and runner. Plugins can be external and internal. So internal agents can be found in the internal agent directory. User parameters plugin is implemented like this. The rest, including internal metrics like CPU, drive, memory, are external plugins, and they will have the same capability as our plugins. They can be found in Go plugins directory. Now let's do some practice, and we will try to write a small plugin. In order to do so, we have first to import a plugin, Zabbix package plugin. Then we define our own structure into which we put base structure. We will need it later on. Now let's write our business logic. We'll have a simple plugin that will give you weather forecast. In order to do so, we will write a get query every time agent calls for our expert. We will be using exporter interface. Everything we do here, we just make an HTTP query, we get a result, and then we return a value. We need to process errors, but just to make it easier, we will avoid it. And then we can register our metrics by using register metrics method. In order to do so, we give a pointer. We indicate a name, and also we pass over a list of metrics with their description. And you can register several metrics in one step. And last but not least, we have to enable. We have to add our plugin into. We have to import our plugin. In order to compile our agent, we just have to add enable agent to option and to run make. Once the compilation is over, we can run our plugin and check whether it works or not. So we give Moscow parameter and then we get a response. Then, after compilation, you can just use go run command just to check whether code is operational. Everything is very easy. Also, there's runtime metrics command that can give you status of all plugins and capacity too. Sometimes it is helpful. But this information should be enough to start experimenting and to start writing your plugins. What comes next? Our next plans are we're going to develop our agent, and as far as I know, we will implement downloadable dynamic libraries plugins, so you don't have to recompile the entire agent from every time. We want to update configuration in runtime, and there will be more plugins out of the box from Zabbix team. We will release Docker and MySQL interfaces. If you want to go deeper into this topic, I have collected some helpful links. You can get them by scanning this QR code. I recommend you to take a look at our official guide, where we have collected our best practices and recommendations on managing templates. And also you can read official documentation. If you want to get more code samples, the best place is to go to git.zabbix.com with our own directory. You can get standard checks, and also there are some code samples in debug catalog. And last is a link to article dedicated to writing Watcher Zabbix-agent 2. That's it from my side, and now I would like to give the floor to Darya Vilkova from Postgres Professional, who will tell you about PostgreSQL monitoring using Zabbix. Questions can be asked after the session.
So, good afternoon. My name is Darya Vilkova, and I work at the Postgres Pro company, and I will tell you about the monitoring tools for Postgres based on Zabbix that are used and developed by our company. When we were looking for the reliable monitoring tool, we chose Zabbix because it was open source, scaling, an active community, and the popularity in Russia. But standard monitoring tools, it had the number of the constant disadvantages. For example, the access only using the TSQL-C. That's why we developed a tool that collects metrics from the Postgres and sends it to the agent. And I will tell about it in the first part. So Zabbix keeps on developing, so offers new tools, and Go agent that Vadim was telling about is one of the examples. And we were glad to be part of to develop it as a monitoring module, and I will tell you how did it work in the second part of my talk. So Mamonsu is an active monitoring agent. Postgres an operational system. It collects metrics, it creates a large JSON out of those and sends it to Zabbix-server. It's written on Python and in Python, and it has additional functions like tune command. It changes options in the configuration file of the Postgres for the parameters of the operational system, certain parameters. Report command is gives you a report about the state of the operational system and the Postgres. And I have this scheme here, so to make it real clear what's where, Mamonsu is installed to the database server. It collects metrics, it sends to Zabbix-server. That needs a pattern, an XML file to process it, the XML file with all the metrics. And after that, the user can use a web interface to see the graphics at Zabbix-server, the history, and so on and so forth. So Mamonsu is older than 3 years old. We are still supporting it. We're trying to add new metrics into this, and it keeps connected with the base continuously at all times. So it also completes the plugin, and each plugin has homogeneous structure that it makes it easy to add new plugins to it or to remove the old ones, so to customize monitoring to your needs. There is a wide array of metrics, and metrics for Postgres Pro Enterprise Mamansu allows you to configure your monitoring and find the easy steps, simple steps, and I will show you how it's done in my next slides. And the cross-platform feature, it's important for our clients who use Linux distributed, including domestic ones. And the pattern that was at the previous slide, Mamansu can generate it by itself using its own metrics and to send it to the Zabbix-server. That's how many plugins we have, and in total we have more than 110 metrics that are available just out of the box. Here are some of them. You can see the full list at our GitHub page, so that's where all of them are listed. So 5 steps how to configure the monitoring. We install Mamansu. Here is an example from the source. We have available packages. Then we start a configuration file. We set the configuration there, the host, parameters of connection to the base. You can disable some plugins, and there you can set custom intervals of the metrics collection. Then we export the pattern to template to the Zabbix server. We create a host group that is tied to the template, and then we can start Mamansu. Then we will have the monitoring and the Postgres of your operational system. Our plans is to add new metrics, for example, for PG bouncer, and to expand the capabilities of Mamansu 2 options. And now more about the module in the new Go agent. So some facts. The connection with the base happens via the library of PGX. It's fast enough. It supports more than 60 types of Postgres. It's also quite popular in the community, and it is used, well, in a lot of places. There is also a processor that sends the query to the base. It's one of the units of this module, and from the interfaces that Vadim talked about, only 2 are used. So the exporter is asking for the stuff that processes the queries, and then it looks if the queries were processed in the right way, and their parameters are now typed in the configuration file of the agent, where the Zabbix-server parameters, debug level, port, and so on and so forth were introduced. And some metrics we are getting by groups like JSON to reduce the workload. Now we also have the constant connection to the base. You can set the maximal lifetime of the connection. And also we support Postgres starting from 9.6 version, and Zabbix-server starting from 4.4, just like an agent. And the possibility to monitor a few instances at the same time. It's in the development stage, but hopefully it will become part of the functions of the agent. And now we are collecting more than 50 metrics. In near time, we plan to double this amount. Here are some of the metrics that are listed already. And we know that monitoring, Postgres monitoring is done only by metrics. It's not really representative, so we need operational system OS metrics, but Go agent knows how to collect that. So to get a full picture, we just get CPU memory from the OS, and then as a template we add Postgres template, and then we get the full monitoring. And just for an example, how to add new metrics, I will show you how does module work. For example, we want to get new values of uptime. We create a corresponding file, and then we connect the library of working for Postgres, and then we specify key. After that, we define a handler. The first one is that will connect, and then you could add some parameters. These parameters could be used to create the query itself. Then we specify a variable for the result and the query itself. We run the query, we see if everything is all right. If everything is all right, then we get the result. Then we only need to register the metrics and to recompile the agent. That's it. Now the metrics is part of the agent. Our plans is to add the Go agent for the Zabbix-server 5.0 version. We plan to add new metrics and to fine-tune the tests, some useful links for you, links to Mamansu. It's on the GitHub, so please go there. You can check how it works. The documentation, it was updated recently. Now it is really functional, really relevant, so it has a description of every function. It will help you to configure your monitoring. And then a link to the thread of the monitoring module at the Git. Hopefully soon it will become a part of the master thread. We have also prepared a small demo stand, so it's a Zabbix server. Go agent is working there. It collects the OS metrics, Postgres metrics. You can go there, you can see how it works. Well, basically this is it. Thank you for the attention. Okay, thank you, Dasha. If you've got any questions you can ask, we still have some time. Hello, I've got the question, the following question. What is the advantage of the plugin we compare it to scripts? Because it complicates things, because in scripts you can just change a config file, and here you need to write a code. Well, it's centralization of the storage. It's more convenient to monitor all the metrics and script there in one place. There is all kinds of scripts. Either the same limitation constraint in Zabbix that the server requests only one metrics per connection. If we talk about plugins and scripts, as I said in my report, so they are more efficient from performance point of view. We can keep the constant connection, for example, to Postgres. We don't need to reopen it every time with every new query. That's first. And secondly, Zabbix, I don't know, starting from which version, I think starting from version 4, supports function, pre-processing functions, and you can now send a package, a batch of metrics to the server in JSON or any other format, and then so that's not the trapper mechanism that has existed since long. Now you can send the whole batch of metrics. Okay, I see. Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the report, for the presentation. Vadim, first a question to you. You mentioned about the constant connection, what the effect it gives for the observer at the base. Without constant connection, yes. With constant connection, what the workload? We haven't really tested, so you don't know yet. I can tell you for sure that it is more efficient than creating a new connection every time, especially if you send queries a lot of times, 1 time per second or even more often. Then starting a TCP connection is a pretty difficult process now. Darya, I've got a question for you. In the first part of your presentation, did I understand that right, that the idea of the fast start, fast launch of Mamansu was done from the idea that Postgres and Zabbix are at the same server? That's why it's so fast. Now, Postgres and Zabbix, the idea is that you have already a Zabbix server. It has been installed already. It has been configured. Then, yes, the understanding is that what happened before you fast start Mamansu. And Postgres is monitored where Zabbix is. We can monitor Postgres anywhere we want. So wherever Mamansu is installed, there was a picture there. So Mamansu is installed at the server that we are monitoring, then it sends the data to the Zabbix server, so which is a different server. But we can also have the situation where everything is installed to the same server. Can you go back to the picture with the quick start? Yes, the Mamansu expert template, it comes from the Zabbix side. So we need to install Mamansu there and there. No, Mamansu knows. I mean, in the configuration file, you put in the Zabbix server address. So expert command will send this template to that server. Okay, I see. Thank you. And the second question regarding the second part, you said about 50 metrics that are being collected at the moment, and each metric must be compiled, agent must be compiled, or there is an agent that compiled. No, you just compile it one time, then you install it, and then you run it, and that's it. In your example, it said that you take one metrics, then you include. Now, that it was an example of adding new metric. If you would want to add a new metric, your custom metric, yes, customized metric, of course. Otherwise, you don't need to restart the agent 50 times. Okay, thank you. On the other side, here I am. I've got a question for the first speaker. In the practice of using Zabbix, we had a problem that the custom and a custom item script a certain moment of time, this item starts to send a response really slow. You had the same example on one of your slides, and the timeout can be quite substantial, and we had really gaps, holes in our monitoring. The monitoring really crushed because of this slow timeout. In the context of the plugin, I guess there is the solution. Probably you used some additional ways to resolve this problem. In the context of plugins, it can also work slowly, or it can sack code, or it can eat up a lot of memory. Is there any protection from this kind of things? Anything can suck forward and crash any program, yes, but I'm just wondering about the lagging, because there is a certain deadline for the timeout, like 30 seconds, and it's not doing this, it's not fulfilling this condition. Are we going to lose all the metrics at a certain moment, or there is some fencing, some protection? It depends on a plugin that we are talking about. I've got the question about if one plugin is behaving badly, we are going to lose metrics of this particular plugin, or we are going to lose everything. Now, in UAgent, architecture is slightly different, so it is done in a better way. So if one plugin, by whatever reason, glitches or crashes, then everything else will go on working. Thank you. I've got a question in here. Oh, I've got two questions. The first question is it possible to disable the system metrics collection? For example, we already have a template that collects all these metrics, and we don't need to double this data. To disable what? To disable the collection of the system metrics at Mamansu, yes, at Mamansu you can do that. And the second question. Do you plan maybe to modify Mamansu somehow, to change Mamansu somehow so that it could Prometheus node exporter your metrics, because Zabbix understands Prometheus node exporter, and you can make a monitoring under Prometheus too, and then Zabbix to do it less frequently. Well, we didn't have plans like that. If you have any ideas, any offers, any suggestions, you can go to GitHub. You can create an issue with your ideas, with your suggestions. We will consider it, and maybe we will implement it. Thank you for the presentation, Vadim. I've got a question. I noticed that there are context provider, this thing. Is it a wrapper above the standard contextor, and you can use it in plugins? Well, as for details of implementation of this context, I won't give you an answer. It's a question for the developers of the Zabbix-agent. The context, as I understand it, was introduced to monitor the log files. Okay, I see. And I've got the request for Darya. I can see that you're using PGX library, the inbuilt support of the context. Contexts are great, so please use it more, just to read the documentation and to use it. Thank you. Due to the switch migration to Go agent, I've got a question. At Zabbix-server, will at centralized discovering to distribute the plugins to the remote machines? No, that's not the task for the monitoring system. There is Ansible and other systems. But if Go agent is already installed when the virtual machine is deployed and we want to deploy soft and to start monitoring it and to send metrics there, and you don't want to do this manually. I understand, I see what you're talking about. We had these discussions inside our company, but we decided, first of all, we are a monitoring system, and we don't want to compile functions like this, especially since a lot of security issues about that, and that what really bothers us. And I've got a question to Darya. Darya, question is regarding Mamansu. In Krasnoyarsk, you had a presentation and you talked about version 3.0, and at GitHub there is a 2.4.4. So what is this mysterious 3.0 version? Well, I can't really answer it. I don't remember talking about 3.0 version. Oh, but it's there in slides, not at these slides. Not 2.3, no, 3.0. Well, okay, then the next question. Darya, you are the one responsible for the development of Mamansu at Postgres. Partially. Then I've got a request to those who are also responsible for it to pay attention to GitHub, and there are issues that hasn't been replied to for more than a year. Just no one replied to those. Sometimes there is some cosmetic things, facelift things, but what we write there, no one is bothered, so it hurts a little, you know. You're saying all the time that you're supporting Mamansu and all that, but you're completely ignoring the issues at GitHub. That's not a good thing. So, okay, just come to me, we will open a GitHub and you will show me what we don't respond to, what we don't reply to. Vadim, I've got a question, I'm here, that's me again. As the participant of the integration team, a member of the integration team, do you have a plan to integrate with console or TCT so that Zabbix-server can store its configuration there and could get it without restart, just to do reload and to connect to another database, another IP address or FQDN? At the moment, I don't know about such plans. Maybe there are such plans, but know nothing about those. Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. I've got a question. And Mamansu had elements of an active agent that could change configuration. At the agent that is going to be at Go, do you plan to do something like that? Well, it has two modes, as a Zabbix wrapper and as an agent, a standard agent. So because server will take metrics from there, and the second mode is an active mode. It will give metrics, so it has two modes. And new agent as well, right? Yes. Do we have any more questions? If there are no, okay. Well, first of all, while people were discussing the simplicity of the installation, it's a question to Darya. Maybe Mamansu should be rewritten to Go so that you could use a binary to deploy it, and that's it. Well, this kind of task, I can give you an answer to your question. Just to think over it. We will put everything to Go, and I've got a question to Vadim. I was thinking about the prospects of using this thing, and right away I had an idea in plugins to collect metrics, allocating a special routines for this collection. Wouldn't it break the timeline of the main, right? To break what? Break timelines. Certain metrics are going to come later than the previous from queue routine. A collection of one like a temperature. So one query worked fast and another query, so the server with temperature is lagging, and we got a reply from a later time. I can answer you from the top of my head. Let's go to our stand. Yes, okay, we will talk about it offline. Can I ask a question? I just didn't see in the new version of the agent Mamansu. You can write plugins in Python and put it into a folder, then you start Mamansu, and then right away it will start to collect and to send the metrics. There is such option in the new version. Yes, in my example, basically that's what we had. So how to write your own customized metrics. So the same principle is applied here. We add a package, we apply some queries, and then there is the main file that is responsible for the Postgres module, and that's where we register new metrics. And then you will need to recompile it. But the recompilation, so what did this action? Yes, it is a compilation. So when you didn't need a compilation back then, because it's a Python, you know. Okay, I see. Thank you. Do we have any more questions? I just wanted to clear out a thing. Do we need to recompile Mamansu or this collector of metrics? We talked about GoAgent. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, GoAgent, you will need to recompile the whole thing, the whole GoAgent. At the moment, you need to recompile it. Maybe in the near future, we will use dynamic libraries. So you can put a new library into the folder. Still, you will need to recompile it to any machine or at the same very machine. Yes, that's a question. For the time being, we can't do it now, but we are working on it. So you will need to put Go there and to compile it there. No, you don't have to. That's a matter of compatibility in different versions of Linux. So you can compile binaries somewhere else. If at the same platform, then it would work at the neighboring computer. And at which OS you can compile a GoAgent? Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. Thank you. Do we have more questions or no more questions? So let's go drink some coffee. One quick question. Why did you decide to go from Python to Go? What's the advantage? Because I don't really know Go well. I know Python relatively well, so it is more complex, I think. I will just explain why I'm asking that. Just as a usual, as a common DB, regular DB needs to write a selector that will collect something from the database and to learn Go for that. So it seems too complicated, too difficult if there is no separate Zabbix administrator. And just to have a Zabbix administrator just for the sake of it. So it's not really a simple thing to rewrite, even if there is a Zabbix administrator to rewrite a new agent to put it all there. Why did you choose Go instead of Python? Is it a question for Mamansu or for the agent? That's a question of if we are switching from migrating from Mamansu, because the way I understand it, you started making the second version not for nothing, or you're going to support both of them. Yes, we support them in parallel for the time being. And what about then? I can tell you about then on the future. Why did you decide to make it in parallel? What's wrong about Mamansu, about its current version? Well, Zabbix offering new products and they're moving forward, and we want to go with them. Okay, thank you. I think it is going to be one more method to collect the data. No one is giving up the old ways. Well, I guess we're done with the questions. We had a lot of questions. Thank you guys for your presentation. It was a great presentation, a lot of questions.